Ethos of Silence.
A veteran podcast aims to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster community support, resilience, and understanding. Through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions, we strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys.
Welcome.
Oh, maybe eventually. I'm actually going to work with some business pitches and come up with an actual program and file the 501c here shortly to make sure that we can lock down our name and our decals and everything else we got going, so we can sell some swag gear and try and raise some money. Yeah,
Monday,
we'll get in on that.
All over it.
We'll get in on it.
Good.
I hear you.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right, so Ethos of Silence, welcome back. I don't know how KG ended up over here instead over there, but whatever.
I don't know you, TJ. Here I am, and welcome back. Thanks for being here with us.
That's what happens when you let us Army guys, play with the equipment, man. We just start breaking stuff.
You know that. We're well versed in doing that part.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It just comes to us naturally, too. It's just not even, it's out of birth. Here it is.
Yeah.
Straight to the Army after that.
Yeah.
He's going to be an Army guy. Look at the way he's messing with that.
You're going to be in the Army because I saw how much stuff you broke. I see how much it's going to cost us to get working again. You're good.
This kid's pushing it around like that. The Army guy's going.
So go ahead and introduce yourself. Who's our guest today?
So again, Janois Singerly from Post 7017 out of Dedham Springs. Staff sergeant out of the United States Army, veteran of Kosovo, Afghanistan, and went to Korea.
Yeah, so you might know what you're talking about, huh?
A little bit.
A little bit.
There's some qualifications there for sure.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your service. I mean, actually, did you know where this kid grew up and all the stuff he's done? It's pretty interesting.
No, where?
So I started out, I was born in Durango, Colorado. My parents lived in an apartment it was Durango. They didn't live in Durango proper area. It was their hospital that I was at. They lived in Pocosa Springs.
Okay.
So at one point, my mom, we were driving to California, and she's like, yeah, look over there. And right off this golf course, there was a 2-story apartment building, and my dad built the deck that goes up to the second floor of the building. I was like, holy crap, Dad did that? And she's like, yeah. So was born in Durango, lived in Colorado for about 12 years, moved to California, lived in California for a couple of years, and then ended up going to Hawaii and graduated high school in Hawaii.
Durango, 12. So you learned how to ski and all that stuff while you were in Colorado, huh?
Hell no.
You didn't ski? You didn't snowboard? None of that stuff?
No, I didn't ski. I didn't snowboard.
High school athletics, any of that stuff?
I did high school, not out of California. When I got to Hawaii, that's when I first got into high school, and I actually took up martial arts.
What?
So yeah, I was studying Okinawan Shorin-ryu while I was in high school, and then studied under a sensei on Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Base. Okay, and then took up kendo, so Japanese fencing.
Yeah.
While I was there.
Wow, that's so cool.
And it was brutal.
So have you done anything else with that since high school? Have you looked into doing more martial arts stuff? You kind of miss it? What?
No, actually, I do. I don't miss it so much. When I was stationed in South Korea, Koreans have their own form of fencing. It's similar to kendo, but I never got into it because I was so busy with work. Being in the Army, it's like you don't have much time to do a lot of practicing. But while I was stationed in Korea, that's when Army combatives started taking off. So we had Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. The Gracie brothers were coming in and starting to teach us.
I remember the Gracie brothers, bad to the bone. They did that battle. What was that first UFC battle they did? It was a mismatched opponent. And, it was a big guy. What was one of the first ones UFC? What was his name? Frank?
I don't know. I didn't follow it that well.
Well, the original Hoist, wasn't it Hoist Gracie?
Hoist Gracie, yeah.
And he got in that match with him, and he was a submission expert.
Oh, yeah.
And he just took him out. It was quick. He was just messing around. So that's you, right?
No, that's not even close to me.
You don't train that?
Okay. No, I'm not that serious about it. I mean, now if we get into a tussle, I know that I'm not going to let you go. Like, Pitbull, I'm just going to grab a hold of you, hold on to you until it's either one of us is going to be dead.
Yeah, so you can handle yourself.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's good. That's fantastic.
No, we looked like a bunch of clowns.
So all this traveling around, why'd you join the military?
It's a great thing to do.
Okay.
Serve the country.
I'm not arguing with you. I mean, you're sitting at the table with a bunch of veterans. Some of us might have walked in thinking we were signing a cell phone contract. The next thing you know, we're shipped off. But
no. I walked in there. I walked into a recruiter's office. I was in Hawaii, just graduated high school. It was a couple years after. I was looking for wanted direction.
Yeah.
Didn't know at the time that both my grandfathers had served. One was, both were World War II. One was actually World War II and Korea.
Okay.
So he was a double. And then, so they, God bless their hearts, they
Tough
passed on.
wars, yeah.
But I got in, I was like, I want to do something better. I want to do something more with my life.
Yeah.
And do something, that's bigger than myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So, take me through training. What did training look like?
Where did you go? What was going on?
From a guy who did all this martial arts stuff,
Right.
How intense and challenging was training, and then where did they send you for training
good
for
questions.
Hawaii?
So I left Honolulu MEPS November 11th, 1998, right
Okay.
about there. Left there after I signed my initial contract, and they're like, okay, you're gonna go through delayed entry, right?
Yeah.
They're like, okay, this is what you need to do. They gave me like the very basics, like here's a book on, rank structure, some basic etiquette, and then, for physical preparedness, you need to be able to run, you need to be able to do some push-ups and some sit-ups. So I'm like, all right.
Right.
Got up,
Check.
I started running. I was like, okay, I'm going to start running, I did a little bit of mountain biking at the time. It was really hard, in Hawaii, but I'm hauling around on a mountain bike every once in a while, having a great time. And then from there, went to Fort Benning, Georgia, and went to did one station unit training, OSIT. Finished my basic training, went to infantry school from there.
Okay.
And then it was a blast going, touring Fort Benning at that time because they have the infantry museum and stuff like that. So there's a lot of history, a lot of everything about the infantry.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well, that builds up that ethos and that culture and that feeling like you're part of something bigger than yourself.
Oh, yeah.
The history is amazing.
yeah. And so it was awesome just to see that. And then right after basic training, when I graduated infantry school, I had a contract. My contract was set up for airborne school. So
Cool.
went right down the road. If you guys have ever seen Mel Gibson's
We Were Soldiers.
We Were Soldiers Once. You'll see the towers, the jump towers, and
Yeah.
they were there when I was there, and it was like, holy crap, they're gonna make us fall from that thing. It was
This is it.
airborne school. I mean, I've heard about different schools. Ranger
Yeah.
School. I've heard of selection for Green Berets. I've heard of all the other schools. Airborne school was probably one of the hardest schools to go to because their whole purpose was you had 500 students come in. They were trying to minimize or get it broken down to so many students so that you could get your graduation done.
Yeah.
And they were brutal. I mean, we had a female Marine. Her whole point was like if you were like in a run and they told you put your arms up, you had to be 1 second intervals. If you put your arms up and you're past that 1 second interval, you're out.
Wow.
She's like, get out of the run. And you'd be getting picked up. So
your days were like filled with this massive what is next on this mission. To
Pretty
school.
much.
So how long was jump school?
Jump school was 3 weeks. First week was ground week. Second week was we did training in the harnesses.
Yeah.
And then have the 35 foot jump towers. And so you learn how to exit the bird. And then last week was doing your jumps.
That's cool.
That is absolutely
That's cool.
What's the one where they slide you down on that little? Isn't there one where you hook up to it and they slide you down like you're in a chute, but it's not. You're not actually. You're supposed to.
You're in the
make
harness.
shit.
So the harness training, there's different levels of it. They actually have what I want to say zip line. They have a zip line, so you learn how to do PLFs. So you grab a hold of the handles, you start sliding down, and they'll tell you land. And when you land, whatever way you lean towards, that's how you're supposed to land. And you're supposed to learn how to land properly and safely, so that way you don't break anything.
That's cool.
Yeah. I've had one other conversation. Cool. Robert Reese was airborne, and he was actually a teacher. I have great respect for how much he went through and how much you don't want to get recycled.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not going back through this. Doing whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you got recycled, you're waiting 3 weeks, for the next class to pick you up.
Yeah.
Or you could get recycled into another company, just depending on how fast or what happened.
So do you have any stories? Let's jump forward. We'll come back to where you're at in your training. Do you have any cool stories of somewhere you actually used that training and jumped into?
Oh, actually, I didn't do any out of country jumps.
Okay.
So all my stuff was in country in the U.S. at Fort Bragg.
Okay.
But
Awesome, Fort Bragg.
pull a story out of my brain. We were on C-130s. We're getting ready to do, I think we're doing a combat jump. Okay. So basically you go in, you have your ruck, you have your weapon, you have all your gear on you. You get JMPI'd. You're sitting in the chute for like 2 to 3 hours before you actually get out to the aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is JMPI'd?
So JMPI is basically when they do an inspection of your harness, all your harness and your equipment to make sure it's hooked up properly. It's cinched in correctly, so that way you don't have any malfunctions on the bird or going out the bird.
I'm just checking. Go ahead. I want to see what that was. My brain.
That's it.
All right. So what's happening next?
So we got on the bird, getting ready to taxi out, and we take off. Well, on the takeoff, I'm sitting across, like in a C-130, they use webbing seats, okay, old school. The center aisle, you'll have webbing seats, and then on the what they call the skin of the aircraft, you'll have webbing seats facing in. Where the landing gear is, that space is missed. So you have like 5 guys right at the door up to the landing gear, and then basically like the wheel well or the well of the landing gear, there's no seat there, and then it goes forward, right? We take off. We think everything's okay, and the crew chief for the bird comes back, and he's like opening the door to the wheel well. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? He's like, landing gear won't come up. And he's got this winch out, and he started winching the gear up. I'm like, and then in the back of my mind, the whole time in the back, I'm like, I got to take a piss. So I'm like, hey, I'm tapping. I'm like, bro, you got a bag or something? He's like, what do you go? I was like, I got to take a piss. And you can't get up, like you couldn't get up and walk up to the bird
because you're all geared in.
Because you're all geared in. You're not going to fit in a bathroom on a C-130. So, yeah, he's like, oh man, I ain't got a bag. I was like, dude, give me a seasick bag, whatever, air sickness bag, whatever you got. I need something, And I was like, all right, well, if I piss here on the floor, man, you got to clean it up.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up getting my buddy had an air sickness bag. Gave it to me.
Oh, thank God!
Utilized it.
I thought I was about to hear the story. You actually did piss in your. I was going to be like, you are brutal.
I thought you
are a warrior.
I thought you were about to piss out the wheel well.
No, what I did was
I pissed my pants. I got up and jumped. Yeah.
I actually got up. I pissed in the bag, and I had to carry the bag out because you couldn't give it to him.
Yeah.
Crew chief ain't gonna take a shit. So I was like, damn. So I had to put it in my ammo pouch and pray to God that I didn't bust it out on the way down on the bird. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
It was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's a good story. That's a good story.
I would say too.
Night jumps were always the best.
I can imagine.
One of the worst ones. We were jumping in December. Well, North Carolina is known for its sleet rain.
Yeah, I was stationed there for 10 years.
You're right.
Well, for 5 years. Cherry Point.
Yeah. So I've been out to Cherry Point at least one time.
Okay.
That's a whole other story on its own.
I'm sorry for you.
No, you're good. But we're in the bird.
Wait, you two have been at the same point at Cherry Point?
Well,
I don't know if he was there when I was there.
But you both have seen the dirt and walked on it?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I chewed on the sand out of Cherry Point for men.
Hey, commonality is what I'm saying. That's just cool. It's just for me.
I didn't. Okay, I'm going to say it like this. I didn't go out to Cherry Point to do any training or meet up with any Marines.
There's nothing to do out there.
No, there's nothing to do. Well, there is something to do. It's when you got to take somebody to the brig.
Yeah,
that's about the only thing that's exciting. That was a whole. Yeah, it was a bad story.
Yeah,
but
imagine.
So we're in the bird. We're flying around, and what they do is when the bird takes off, they'll do a 20-minute call because if you're jumping anywhere on Fort Bragg, it's less than 20 minutes to fly.
Okay.
Right. So jump masters get up. They're doing the 20-minute, and they start doing the calls. But what was problem is that we had weather coming in. So the pilots are stupid finicky about us jumping in some crazy weather. But we had to make this jump. Commander's like, I don't care if freaking hail's falling out of the sky at 800 miles an hour. We're jumping tonight.
Cool, like that, huh?
Yeah, it was ballsy. I was like, shit, we're going to die tonight.
Where'd you say that? Tim Collins, the guy I had on here last, he was a meteorologist.
Wow.
So he was literally one of the guys who would tell you, hey, look, y'all are good. The weather will be fine.
I mean, if those Air Force pilots saw like one drop of rain hit the windshield on the bird, they're done. They're going home.
Yep.
Yeah. So we went around and
meteorologists like, you guys are good. No, don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're good.
No.
We're good. No, actually, it was.
You need to talk to him. He's got an amazing story of because he also went to jump school. Okay. So and he jumped in. He's got an amazing story. He tells it way better than I ever could. I'm not even going to try.
But the whole point coming down to the Air Force is trying to tell us, hey, you're not making this jump tonight. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's sleeting outside, and it's horrible weather. Commander's like, nah, we're jumping. Yeah. We are going to jump. And so next thing you know, you hear outboard personnel stand up, inboard personnel stand up, hook up. Doors are open. Wind's blowing through the air. It's freaking cold as hell. You're
middle of night, sleet and rain in North Carolina.
Yeah. So you get out the door, and I'm glad I wasn't the first one at the door. I was in the middle of the pack somewhere. So, at that point, once they start moving, you're going. It's a train.
Yeah.
Get pushed out. Once you get out the door, I mean, it was cold as all get out. And I made the landing safely, but I was just like, oh, this is the worst night in the world.
Never want to have to do that again.
I don't want to ever do that again.
Thank you, ground. There's the ground. Thank you.
I was like, thank you for letting me get on the ground so quickly.
So what was your first unit
story,
like,
man.
as far as like the history of your unit and the camaraderie of your unit before you went on that first deployment?
Right. So, graduated airborne school, and the worst part about airborne school that I saw was I went in the spring and summertime. I'd never seen, and when I call airborne school being brutal is because there was guys, in my time, you'd be standing out in the chow line and it's 115 degrees outside. Dudes are passing out left and right. I mean, you just watch them falling out of formation.
I thought you might be ready to say that.
Yeah.
About the heat up there.
It was.
And
what
what state was this again?
North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No. I'm sorry. That was Fort Benning, Georgia. I'm sorry.
Well, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Any of those months, and I'm not to digress, but I went to Fort Jackson in the middle of summer, and oh my God, when they say cat something, you are aware that we're in a situation. It is hot, and like you're saying, guys are passing out, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, we had canteens. You carry a canteen everywhere you go, and you're drinking you're drinking a quart an hour.
Yeah,
if not
easy.
more. Yeah,
Easy.
So left Fort Benning, went to Fort Bragg, and went through intake. They call it intake. So as a private, I was a PV2 at the time. Got there, we started doing intake. They start doing you're doing PT. You're not doing so much unit history or anything like that, but it's just more PT, and they're just getting you ready to go to your units.
Yeah.
At one point, division commander comes down. We all go down to the division theater, and I don't remember who it was at the time. Went and sat down. It was August, early September, 1999. I got to Fort Bragg, and he comes out. First thing he said was, if you're going to 3rd of the 504, you're going to be deploying in a couple months. I was like, shit.
I just got here.
Well, see, the thing was, is he said nobody knew
Where they were going.
Nobody
yet.
knew where they were going yet. So
Oh, they're
you
not
had
telling
no clue.
you now.
You don't know until you pick up your orders. He's just telling you that if you get these orders, you are deploying.
Yeah. So we got back to the barracks, and the first thing everybody did, I mean, they had the orders posted on the wall, so everybody's like all over the wall. I'm running down the list. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I can't miss my name, so I'm like, yep, 3rd of the 504. Lord have mercy on me.
Here we go.
So yeah,
All the way.
All right.
made the run down to the unit. I was stationed with Alpha Company, 3rd of the 504. I was with 1st Platoon as a rifleman, and that's when I started life as a brag baby. That's what they called us.
Right on, brag baby.
We did a couple weeks of training, and again, North Carolina heat. It was still hot. I had a flak jacket at the time for our armor before we deployed to Kosovo, and I remember we were doing some.
Wait, you said flak jacket.
Mm-hmm.
So what year was this again?
1999.
Yeah, there wasn't sappy plates then. I mean, there wasn't ceramics.
It was yokes.
Not ceramics.
No, they had plates at that time.
They had the ceramic plates inserts?
No.
99?
So you had, my time in the Army was a lot of transition.
Mm-hmm.
We were coming out of flak jackets, but they were getting ready to go into plates, what the Rangers were wearing at the time. So a few people got plates, right? It was like the select, higher ups.
Yeah.
Everybody else, flak jacket.
Yeah.
And that flak jacket was horrible.
The worst.
Yeah. I mean, we were coming off of a training exercise. All we were doing was we were running like a city block, clearing buildings. I came off that thing. I was so burnt up. I was like, I had to pull everything off, open my jacket up because it was hot.
Did y'all get that salt crust eventually on the outside of your suit? Shit.
Did you ever see your? Did you ever have red blood dots on your T-shirts?
I think so. I think I recall something like that. I didn't get the red blood dots. I remember the weird psychological feeling of that. I go to the bathroom every day, but I've not gone to the bathroom for like 4 days when you're in the hot zone. You're like, I should have gone to the bathroom like a while back.
I'm sure I'm drinking all this water.
Where's
It's not
it going?
coming out.
Oh, it
Where's
ain't going nowhere. No.
It's a psychological battle.
Yeah.
It's like,
So
what is
the
happening?
red blood dots I'm talking about is because when you're doing PT and you're sweating in the cotton T-shirts you had on at the time, you're bleeding through them at your nipples because your nipples were just being ripped up by the salt.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say that on the podcast.
No, you're good.
Absolutely.
You're good.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what we're here for, people, to realize
realize that you're not alone, and we've all been through.
Yeah,
it.
and you can't say that.
A little reminder.
Yeah,
you can say hit here.
All right,
maybe not anywhere else. You say,
but so we knew we were going to Kosovo.
Okay.
We started doing all of my time training was doing a lot of urban warfare.
Okay.
Okay. We did at least one more jump, and then I went home on leave, and came back and we deployed. We took charter aircraft from North Carolina to Germany. Yeah, we chartered to Germany, and then from Germany we flew into Kosovo on C-130s, and then we had Chinooks took us out to Camp Boston.
How long were you in Kosovo?
6 months.
Okay.
From September to March, and it was difficult because you're being told, hey, this is the first time you've ever deployed.
Yeah.
You're going to a foreign country where you don't know nothing. You don't get a lot of time doing languages. You don't get a lot of time in culture and etiquette and everything like that. What you're encountering is Serbians and Albanians. They're mad at each other. You got the Yugoslavians mixed in there somewhere, and you don't know. In that time period, we're starting to define what terrorist cells look like, because you had an organization called the UCK. They were a small organization. It wasn't built like Al Qaeda or Taliban, who were already in effect at that moment. If you remember, Taliban were in effect during the Russian war with Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. They weren't in full effect, but you didn't know who the enemy was. And here you are, you're on a peacekeeping mission because we just got done bombing the hell out of Kosovo.
Yeah.
So you're out there walking streets on patrols, and you don't know what's going to happen from one day. It's almost, it's not the wild, wild west, but it's getting really close.
Yeah. So let's take a step and look at what your leadership looked like, because you're young, you're coming in, you've got no idea. You literally just finished school, did a little bit of extra training, and now so what's your leadership look like? Your immediate leadership and the kind of life lessons you learned on that deployment from them.
Wow. All young leadership.
Okay.
So at that time, we had the first sergeant, I think he was, first sergeant commander were Ranger qualified, platoon sergeant was Ranger qualified, platoon commander was Ranger qualified, so they all been to Ranger school, so they got some leadership training out of that.
Okay.
Platoon commander was a lieutenant or a captain?
Platoon commander was a lieutenant, company commander was a captain, 03.
I just went to Ranger school, wasn't too much butter.
Yeah, but I mean, some of them had been out a little bit. They just went to Ranger school, got out, and they've been serving in the company or the platoon areas for a while. So they had a little bit of, they integrated a little bit, working with guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Platoon sergeant, I can't remember if he was.
What about just your squad, man?
Squad was
like the people that you were in it with every day. I mean, I know you were in it with everybody, but I mean, your squad is who you were basically bunked down with and hanging out with the whole time.
That was your family, dude. You ate, slept, shit, shaved, showered, everything with them. Yeah. So you did everything. It was your family. I mean, you didn't trade off clothes because nobody fit the right size, but I mean, you basically traded everything else. My squad leader, my team leader were great guys.
Okay.
My team leader was a little crazy because he hated the cold. So he looked like a freaking penguin in green walking out, when it got cold. But he was a good team leader. My squad leader was phenomenal because he believed in, he was a hardcore, believed in that old school method. And that came from the first sergeant coming down, because the first sergeant was old school.
Good.
So it was like, I mean, you were doing push-ups. If you're a private, you're doing push-ups for something.
Yeah.
Whether your bootlaces weren't tied right, or a medal on your jacket was, off just by like, an eighth of an inch, you're doing push-ups, and they could spot it right there.
Awesome.
So when we got to Kosovo, we had great training. You kept your head on a swivel, and they helped you do that.
Yeah.
They kept your head on a swivel the whole time. One of the stories that came out of that was, this was great in leadership. I'd misplaced my night vision device one night. We came back from a night patrol, and every time you come back, so one of the things that was famous for our unit or Fort Bragg in general was you tied everything down. If you're in the 82nd, you tied everything down. Why? Because you didn't want to lose it off the bird, right? So all your stuff right down to your watch band.
Dummy cord.
Yep. So I'd misplaced my night vision device. I'm sitting there looking for it, and my squad leader's like, dude, you better find your stuff, man. You better find your stuff. And he's got me in the front lane of rest, like I'm off a cot, in the front lane of rest, trying to search through an assault pack, trying to find my night.
Do your push-ups. No, find it. No, do your push-ups. No, find it.
So that was the purpose, but it taught me, it was like, dude, you got to pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
Like, you got to lay everything out. You got to know where it's at. You got to know where it's put, so that you have an idea. You can find it without seeing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, great leadership.
Great learning experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Needless to say.
Yes.
So you come back from that deployment. What did the Armies look like from coming back from that deployment, as far as like debriefing, giving you different things to kind of mental health side of things to kind of settle you down type stuff? Did they have anything going? I mean, it's a normal question to be asking people on this stuff.
So coming back from that deployment,
break that down for us.
It was, we came in, we flew in, and then we caught the buses back to Bragg to the battalion area. There was no chaplain out there. There was no counselors out there. There was nothing. And now, granted, it wasn't, when I say it was almost like the Wild Wild West, I remember going on patrols where they were flipping buildings. And
flipping buildings?
With anti-tank mines. They were taping mines together, putting them in the basements of buildings, and flipping buildings with this, right? Yeah. So you'd be walking a patrol, and it may not happen right there next to you, but if it was within your vicinity of patrol, you're going to go find out.
Yeah, you're now investigating the sound and figuring out what happened, and then
while your eardrums feel the way they are, your body's just cavitated from the explosion.
Right. So you're just like flipped out, and you're on, and it's already bad because you're on pins and needles, but you're not supposed to be, because they called it a peacekeeping tour, right? We're out there to win the hearts and minds of the people. It wasn't happening. So when we came back, there was no debrief. There was no, hey, we're going to give you some leave time because you just got back from deployment, but hey, outside of that, we're going back to work.
Yeah.
It's going to be, it's normal work day. And that's how it was treated.
Yeah.
I thought it was normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and you're lulled into the thinking that it is a normal way to act. Like, okay, well, I mean, we did our business. Let's keep on going about the day.
And I'm not expecting to find anything else come out of this. Yeah, all these feelings I'm feeling, it's just...
Yeah, it's normal. You go to bed, you wake up. I was married at the time. I had my oldest son. And, I mean, I'd go home.
There's a decompression button around here somewhere.
There wasn't. You didn't have the thing about Bragg was that you lived and breathed and ate this way all the time. And it wasn't because Bragg was maybe possibly different than other. I mean, we were airborne qualified, and we were supposed to be the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
And as far as conventional forces went. But when you came back from deployment, you're going back to training. You go on leave, that's your only time, that you get to decompress.
So you know what AARs are?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean...
The commanders, so...
I mean, an in-depth one that went... Yeah. There wasn't one, though. There wasn't one, okay, your mission was that, and you went through that. Hey,
So after a patrol or something, we do an AAR, just kind of, hey, this is what we found, this is what we're catching up to, or this is what we saw.
That's for operational, though.
Yeah, that's operational, but after mission, after coming back to the States, there was nothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's going back to the range, getting back on the aircraft, going back to the field, going back to being on 2-hour recall. So that was normal. Yeah.
Did you ever find out whose idea that was to do all the bombing right before you went in and stir the hornet's nest? Never mind. It's not important.
It was the Air Force, man. It was. I mean, we were coming across bomblets.
Okay.
Yeah. I was picking up bomblets
Great
off the ground, and be
idea.
like, hey, this is great. I got some. Yeah, this is awesome. But I mean, the only other we had while I was there was a gentleman by the name of Frank Rongi.
Yeah.
And I served in the squad with him. He was a weapons squad leader at the time. Come to find out, what he did was he murdered a young child, a young lady, raped and murdered her and hid her body.
And that definitely makes the winning the hearts and minds mission a little difficult, right?
It was like, dude, you can't send the 82nd anywhere. Yeah. And it was horrible.
Wow.
So the mines that were taped, were y'all doing that, or were the engineers doing that?
No, that was the Albanians.
No. That
was the Albanians that were doing it.
Yeah, the Albanians and Serbians.
They weren't flipping buildings.
Okay, yeah, that
you don't win hearts and minds by showing up and flipping the buildings, buddy.
Well, it gives you an insight of an engineer's mind.
Yeah, he's like, so
done that.
I'm wondering which engineer was rigging that up.
That's what I'm thinking. Some guy like Grandpa showed me how to do.
No, seriously. I mean, you would think that, right?
Yeah.
Because you think, oh, we got to clear some lanes up for something, you know? But no. I mean, when you're coming across some old Russian anti-tank mines, you know, that didn't explode, you're just like, okay.
Oh, no.
And then you see the buildings that are coming down. I mean, 2 to 3 story buildings. And when I say they flipped, they're like, it blows up in the basement. So all that pressure and compression just pushes the building off its base.
Yeah.
And comes down all over the place.
Wow.
I wish we could put more into words what that feeling was like. That is just incredible.
I'm just going to say it's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it, man.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Wow. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut this short, and we'll jump right back in with you. You got any final words of wisdom before we jump right back into another one?
Just keep your head on a swivel, man.
I hear you.
Right on a swivel.
What you got, KG?
For taking some time and spending it with us and sharing your story.
Sure thing.
For those out there to be able to see it, and thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron. Hold on, we got some more coming.
All right.
If you need more information on veterans benefits, please visit our website at vfwpost4224.org. That's Victor Foxtrot Whiskey, post4224.org. All of our contact information is in the description of the video. Please email us if you have any questions. We now have a moment of silent prayer for those still in the battle, for our departed comrades, for those missing in action, and for those held as prisoners of war.